Ninth chapter, production in a factory, a paper mill. We use so much of paper in our day-to-day lives. Do you know how is the paper found in books, records, registers, progress reports and newspapers made? There are two paper mills in Telangana. One is in Kagasnagar, another one is Bhadrachalam. The raw materials which we required is to produce a commodity is called the raw materials. Factories require a large quantity and continuous supply of raw material. You will find dozens of lorries supplying raw material to factories every day. Paper mills generally use wood from bamboo, eucalyptus and sababul trees. Sababul wood is most widely used now. Beside wood, a number of chemicals like common salt and caustic soda are also used in the different stages of paper making. Scrap paper is also recycled in paper mills. Factories use heavy machinery that is run on electricity. For example, the paper wheel shown in the figure requires nearly 25 megawatt of electricity every year. More than half of the electricity requirement is met through the factory's own power generators. Beside electricity, the mill requires a large quantity of clean water throughout the year. Paper mills and disappearance of bamboo. Although raw materials for paper is available in the forest, it is not very easy to procure. Paper mills engage tractors to supply bamboo and other raw materials. A few decades ago, contractors employed tribal people who cut bamboo from the forest. Due to excessive cutting in the past, there are no bamboo trees available in forests near the paper mills now. Hence, these mills are looking for alternative raw materials like sababul trees, which are grown in villages. This led the government to encourage people to grow sababul trees on farmland. Nowadays, paper mills bring wood from distant places. When we visited the paper mill, we found 4 to 5 lorries with loads of sababul wood waiting outside the mill gate. They would be allowed to enter the mill only after 9:30 am. There were separate gate, one for the workers and other large gate for the vehicles. We had to take prior permission from the paper mill authorities to visit the mill. Let's know about chipping. In the first stage, large pieces of wood are cut into small chips with the help of large machines. They can cut a lorry load of wood into chips in about 30 minutes. There are about 15 to 20 workers in this section. The chips are then separated according to the size. The big chips again cut into smaller chips. Work goes on this way throughout the day. Can you imagine how many trees have to be cut to run a paper mill for just one day, that is 24 hours? Making of wood pulp. The small wood chips are sent to fiber line section. In this section, the wood chips are boiled with some chemicals in large vessels. Through this process, the wood chips are turned into a pulp of thin fibers like cotton fibers. The liquid pulp is then whitened using chemicals. It then becomes creamy. We found the liquid pulp in milky white color without any dust particles. Now the third one, spreading the pulp. The liquid pulp is separated on thin screens over a cylinder. This is an important stage as the weight, length and thickness of the paper is set at this stage. The pulp dries as the water drains out and evaporates due to heat. Once this is done, the pulp is forwarded through the conveyor belt. It's time for pressing, drying and rolling. The drying pulp is pressed by rollers to smoothen it. When the pulp dries up completely, we get a sheet of paper which is then rolled up. Fifth one, last but not the least, cutting. The paper is cut in the cutting machine according to the size required. Paper is made into rolls and sheets as well. It is then packed and sent to godowns. The production work takes place continuously in all the sections simultaneously. Work in batches. The paper in the form of rolls and sheets is preserved in godowns. Each roll is labeled with batch number, lot number and weight, etc. What is a batch? When a lorry loads of wood is brought into the factory, the entire quantity of wood is given a batch number. This batch is then sent to different sections, one after the other. Raw material of one batch would be processed together each stage. For example, when batch number 201 is being cut into small pieces, simultaneously the previous batch 200 would be in the section for making pulp and batch number 199 would be in spreading section, and so on. As soon as number 201 is cut into pieces, it would be sent to the next section and number 202 would come up for cutting into small pieces. Papers produced in one batch would have the same inputs and processing, so their quality will be the same. The batch system allows a factory to produce continuously throughout the day. It also allows the managers to trace any mistake in the product by checking what went wrong with a particular batch. Working hours and shifts. This paper mills run 24 hours a day. The workers work in 3 shifts of 8 hours each. They are A, B and C shifts. In each shift, about 800 to 900 workers are at work. A shift starts from 6 am to 2 pm. B shift starts from 2 pm to 10 pm and C shift starts from 10 pm to 6 am, which is night shift. Night shift workers get a special allowance. Workers change their shift cyclically. Workers of each shift have to move from A shift to B shift and then to C every week. There is also a general shift for the administrative staff, which is from 9:30 am to 5 pm. Administrative staff look after the management, accounts, trade and sale of the product and workers' welfare activities, etc. Night selling the paper. This paper mill has marketing depots in the different cities. It also sells paper to other countries such as Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Malaysia, Singapore, Nigeria and South Africa. The paper is sold through these depots. Developed railways and roadways make it easy to transport wood and paper from the mill. Now it's about working in paper mill. A factory employs a large number of workers of different kinds. Some workers on machines, some help them, some take care of electrical fittings, some on in transporting the materials. Some of them are highly qualified like engineers while others may have education from ITI and polytechnic colleges. Still other may be illiterate doing manual work like cleaning. A factory also employs people on different terms and conditions. Some are regular permanent workers of the factory, while some other may be employed as casual workers when the need arises. Still others are employed as contract workers. Let us delve into more. Let us take example of Suraj. Suraj is a permanent worker in the paper mill. He has been working in this mill for more than 10 years and gets a salary of 15,000 per month. As a regular employee, he gets a number of benefits like provident fund that will be paid to him when he retires from the service, medical insurance, etc. In addition, if for any reason his employee is terminated or he cannot work due to an accident, he will paid a compensation by the factory. He will also get an increment in salary every year. If he or his family members become sick, he take them to nearby employee state insurance ESI dispensary and get the medicines free of cost. He pays a small amount and the factory mill pays some amount for availing this facility. Suraj get regular holidays, 1 day every week on festivals and some additional leaves. He also given allowance to buy the uniform and get it washed. In due course, Suraj get bonus too, an additional amount paid to the workers when the paper mill earns profit. There are about 1800 such permanent workers in the mill. If you are taking example of contract labor, Chandu is a permanent laborer, but though he comes daily and work in the factory. He is a contract laborer. He usually asks to help in unloading the trucks or in the packing and loading the papers. Things like Chandu are paid a lower salary than permanent workers, about 8,000 a month. They do not get allowance, medical help, bonus and paid holidays. However, they get work throughout the year and may become permanent worker after 2 or 3 years. The woman who works in this factory usually clean the floors and paste labels on the paper packets. If you are taking the example of Tara, Tara is working as a casual worker in this factory. Workers who are employed on and off are called casual workers. Tara comes every morning to the factory to see is there any work. Usually they employ her for 4 or 5 days in a week to clean the floors of the factory. The workers, the mill also employs a number of accountants, clerks and managers who are paid better salaries. The senior managers, who are usually from the families of the owners of the mill, get very high salary along with a number of allowances like free housing and free education for children. This mill does not have a single owner. Some people got together to form a company which owns this mill. These people invested large amount of money and also borrowed money from the bank from the factory. They also bear the losses if any. Some factories are owned not by the individual owners or group of owners but by the government. These are run by the government for the welfare of all the people. Factories provide employment to the large number of people. However, the workers who work in these factories often find their work very tedious and many of them become sick due to the exposure to dust and chemicals. They also get paid very little. They are also often forced to live in slums with poor facilities. Let us discuss how the pollution forms from these factories. When you go to other side of the paper mill, you will find some unpleasant smell in that area. This was due to the use of chemicals. By talking to a few residents living nearby, we'll know that this stench was usual and it was common to find dust released from the industry settle on the leaves of plants in the farms, trees in the industries nearby and on the garden plants. The mill was draws a lot of fresh water from the river but lets out wastewater containing poisonous chemicals which eventually joins the river. Only last year, the paper mill got an effluent treatment plant to which all the wastewater is sent. Besides this, the paper mills use treated effluent to water their gardens. Some farmers use this for irrigation too. There are a large number of factories in our state and country which produce diverse articles of use. They produce them in the large quantities in a short time.